Good evening, and welcome to Creative Broadcasting, the station of unlimited possibilities. Presents Creating Your Seat at the Table with your host, Ashley Little, as she welcomes her guest to the table.
Welcome to Creating Your Seat at the Table. I am your host, Dr. Ashley Little, corporate executive by day, serial entrepreneur by night, CEO and founder of Ashley Little Enterprises, LLC, and founder and owner of Talk Radio and TV Network, LLC. Tonight, we have an amazing special VIP guest by the name of Nakisi Taifa. A little bit about her. Nakisi is an attorney, activist, scholar, motivational speaker, and author. A native of Washingtonian, she has been part of many movements for justice. Throughout the decades, the Black Power movement, the New African Independence movement, the anti-apartheid movement, the movement to free political prisoners, the reparations movement, and the movement to end mass incarceration. In sense that books for Black children failed to highlight freedom fighters, she authored a book in her 20s, Shining Legacy, Story Poems and Tales for the Young, So Black Heroes Forever Will Be Sung, 1983, followed by The Adventures of Kojo and Alma, 1992. She describes her latest book, Black Power, Black Lawyer, My Audacious Quest for Justice, as part memoir, part textbook, part study guide, part exposed. Although sometimes raw, sometimes abrasive, sometimes passionate, Taifa offers her truth unapologetically and unfiltered with honesty and authenticity. Adopting an African name at age 16, Taifa was heavily influenced by the Black Power era and sat at the feet of luminaries now often mentioned as part of history, such as Queen Mother Adelie Moore, President Dr. Amari Abedel, attorney Choke Lumumba, and Dr. Francis Westland, Dr. Jean Sindad, to name a few. As a social justice attorney, Nakisi was pivotal in transforming criminal justice into a movement against mass incarceration and helped steer the issues of reparations from the fringes into the mainstream. As a Black Power advocate and a Black movement attorney, Nakisi has been seen on the cutting edge of change and impactful in countless people's lives, but has also experienced the challenges, personal frailties, and battle scars that define what it is to be human. She weaves together the rich tapestry of her life, both the good and the bad, the happy and the sad, and connects historical dots with honesty, humor, and authenticity. Welcome to the table, the amazing Nakisi Taifa.
Oh, man, I'm so glad to join you, Dr. Ashley. Oh, my God, I'm just listening to that, and it just sounds so good when it's coming from your lips, my sister.
I love it. You know what? You are amazing. I mean, your journey, you just inspiring us all. Thank you for paving the way, all the great things that you were doing, the movements that you have started, the glass ceilings that you are breaking on a daily basis. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad to be part of your podcast, and I'm glad to be part of the mix here.
You are welcome. So our audience has heard your bio, your amazing bio. So please tell us more about your journey.
Okay, so I want to do it in the context of like the title of your show and your magazine, Your Seat at the Table. That's kind of like what I've been doing all my life, trying to make that seat at the table. Like what Shirley Chisholm says, if you're not at the table, if you don't have a seat at the table, go on and bring that folding chair, okay? So I tried to kind of like epitomize that with respect to issues that I work on a daily basis. There weren't a lot of Black folks talking about criminal justice reform back in the day. There weren't a lot of women. There definitely were not impacted people. So I sought to change that. I started a coalition called the Justice Roundtable, which came to become a coalition of over 100 organizations working on criminal justice reform. And this was during a time when nobody was talking about criminal justice reform. I mean, it was not the hot button item. You did not have, things on the documentaries, on the TV, or anything along those lines dealing with criminal justice reform. In fact, both Democrats and Republicans alike tried to avoid the issue, and everybody was tough on crime. So I try to humanize it a bit with respect to at least Black folk most of the folk incarcerated were disproportionately black, people that, that look like me, shall I say. And I thought to try to change that narrative and bring more seats to the table, bring more people who are directly impacted to that table, where now we have a situation where if you're not saying something about criminal justice reform, particularly as a candidate, you're not going to be getting elected. Okay, so it's been a huge sea change since, I would say, the late 80s till now on that issue, and I played a major part in that as well. Let's take the issue of reparations. I started working on the reparations issue way back in the early 70s, actually, when I was a teenager. And again, it was an issue that was on the fringe. You would be considered revolutionary or militant. I was both of those things, but you also would be considered plumb crazy, which I was not. But what I thought to do is pull up seats to that table, where today in the 21st century, the issue of reparations has become very much mainstream. We have a situation wherein the candidate vying for the 2020 Democratic nomination, we're talking about reparations. We have a situation where corporations and industries and academic institutions are talking about reparations. You have a situation where Amalgamated Bank is in support of reparations. Ben and Jerry's Ice Cream in support of reparations. The Virginia and Princeton Theological Seminaries in support of reparations. And the list goes on and on. The Jesuits talking about raising $100 million to seek to begin to atone for those 272 Africans that they literally sold down the river to keep Georgetown University from going bankrupt back in the day. So all of these are issues, again, that I sought to bring more people to the table to have those seats. And then finally, with respect to my memoir, one of the reasons, Dr. Ashley, that I wanted to write my memoir, Black Power, Black Lawyer, because there were so many people that were influential to me in my life that are mere footnotes in history that people don't know anything about. People go to the civil rights movement era and just skip over the Black Power era. And what I wanted to do was to make sure that folks knew that there were people at the table, there were seats at the table that people are not talking about now that were not only influential to me, but I submit also played a role in what's going on today in terms of, Black Lives Matter. So there it is.
I love it. And, I was going to ask you a question about why you were so passionate about the Black Power movement, but you pretty much already answered that. You're very passionate about it. Did you want to add anything else to your passion for it? Because you created multiple movements around the Black Power movement.
Yeah. So, I might have created some, but I also was just a part of some. I was a part of the anti-apartheid movement. I didn't create it, but I worked for an organization that was dealing with Indian apartheid in South Africa. And, again, got arrested in front of the South African embassy in support of freedom from Nelson Mandela from prison. Got arrested in front of the Longworth House office building in support of statehood for the District of Columbia. I'm a native Washingtonian. Got arrested in front of the White House in support of democracy in Haiti. So yes, my passion even went to the point of putting my liberty on the line. But I will say, with respect to reparations, I will say this. I mentioned that I was a teenager. I used to sell Black Panther Party newspapers on the streets of Washington, D.C. We're talking about around 1971. And I looked in the paper one day when selling was had slowed down, and I opened up the 10-point programs, what we want, what we believe. And they talked about this racist government having robbed us, and now we're demanding our overdue debt of 40 acres and a mule promised 100 years ago as restitution for slave labor and mass murder and all like that. And even at that young age, I didn't know a whole lot. I didn't know about the Rosewood, Florida, Tulsa, Oklahoma race massacres. I didn't know about the merciless exploitation exploitation and experimentation of black women devoid of anesthesia that led to modern gynecology. I didn't know about the enormous profits from the enslavement era made by corporations and insurance companies and the banking industry and all like that. But, back then as a teenager, on a psychic level, I could just feel in my bones the enslavement era's inhumane cruelty, and there was just this gnawing in my soul for amends and for redress, and I kind of carried that throughout my life. I came up during the time when Black Studies was coming into the classroom, and in ninth grade, I took a Black Studies class, and I'm sitting in the classroom, eighth grade, and there's this poster on the wall of a black man with a black beret on his head, with a spear in one hand and a rifle in the other hand, sitting in a Grand Slam wicker chair. And all the teenage girls, my classmates, were talking about how fine this brother is, ooh, he's so cute. But I was asking the teacher, well, why is he in jail? Why is the head of the Black Panther Party being represented by white lawyers? I'm asking, where are the black lawyers to represent black people? And from that point, I knew I wanted to be a lawyer. And again, it stemmed from the Black Power movement. And be a lawyer, I did become.
Love that. And thanks for shining light on that more. And so you talked about your book. Congratulations on your book. Tell us more about your new book and what do you want readers to get from it? Your memoir.
Yeah, so it's not just a memoir. It's also, I say it's part memoir, part textbook, part study guide, and part expose. I say that it teaches, it preaches, it rhapsodizes, and it tantalizes. It has all of that. But beyond all of that, it really is the story of a quest that's rarely told. It is a search for the resistors and the rebellious. It's the pursuit of issues on the cutting edge. And although there are a lot of memoirs out there that chronicle iconic leaders who are striving for justice during the well-documented civil rights movement, there is not a whole lot out there of what I call the transformative journeys of self-realization of ordinary people growing up during the turmoil of Black Power. And so my book, Black Power, Black Warrior, it offers a uniquely personal glimpse from an insider's perspective, because I have been on the inside, into little known or understood parts of this country's history, from juicy stories of the more controversial or militant aspects of the Black liberation struggle to also the craziness of congressional sausage making and the pivotal role of strange bedfellows. What I will say is, my book is not just all politics and struggle. It really has personal stories in there itself. And, I always wanted to be authentic. I wanted to be able to show that you can have thoughts and personal frailties and still make a difference. Because let me tell you, I've had a lot of thoughts and personal frailties, But, I talked about in my book, Me Too, long before hashtag Me Too. I talk about in my book, about putting spice in your life and it not being quite nice. I talk about sex lies and videotape. I talk about a husband from the classified. I talk about my big, fat, new African wedding and divorce. I talk about all those things, but all interspersed between the revolution and the struggle and all of that sort of stuff that moved and moved me. And I talk about cases that I had, at the height of my legal career. Some of them kind of, would have been comical had it not been that my client would have been deported if he had been found guilty. That was called the ketchup in my face case. I talk about the case that's called the Capitol bombing resistance conspiracy case. I talk about the David versus Goliath ABC case. I talk about, some of those things as well. And I talk about my whole role in terms of highlighting the whole disparity and penalty between crack and powder cocaine and the very, very long legislative battle that I was at the helm of that served to reduce that disparity in 2010. that we're still fighting today. So there's a whole lot of stuff in Black Power, Black Warriors.
I love it. I love it. So, how can people purchase your book? Let them know how they can go purchase it and book you to speak and all that stuff before we tell them, ask them, we've got them know how they can purchase it.
Absolutely. They can go to my website, www.blackpowerbblacklawyer.com, and there are links to Amazon, to African American Literary Book Club, Sankofa Bookstore, whole lot of black bookstores you can get it from, but also the traditional Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Books A Million, and the like. So folks can just go to blackpowerbblacklawyer.com, and there's a variety of ways in which a folk can purchase the book.
So what is some, advice you would give to listeners who want to be more involved in, creating change, being more involved in, being an asset and, getting involved with the Black Power movement? What are some things that people can start, continue to do or start doing?
Yes, well, first, okay, purchase my book and read about things from my personal perspective, I guess you could say. But people need to speak their truth, okay, and need to not be afraid of being on the front lines. Frederick Douglass, the great anti-slavery orator, once said way back in 1857, he said that power concedes nothing without a demand, that it never did and it never will. So we need to really be out there demanding what we want. That's what Black Lives Matter folk are doing out there in the streets, demanding what they want. But I also want people to realize that they can have a career. They can have a fulfilling career and still make a difference as a social justice lawyer. I want them to know that, again, they can experience challenges and personal struggles and battle scars, all these things that mark just what it is to be human. They can have unhealthy relationships and failed marriages and workplace devastations. They can have all of that and still kick ass, still make a difference in society. They don't have to give up or anything along those lines. They can be human beings, as I was and am, and still make a difference. They can challenge the system, Dr. Ashley. They can be true to their beliefs. They can have an African name. And I can show you my mama did not name me Nikichi Taifa when I was born back in the 50s. But I adopted an African name. They can do all that. They can keep their hair natural. And they can still be successful. Now, I will admit, who knows how far I might have gone in life if I had not been as deeply melanated, okay, we'll just say deeply melanated, as I am, if I had not kept my hair natural, if I maintained my birth name, Anita Caldwell, who knows how far I might have gone. But even with doing those things that were authentic to me, I still have been quite successful, still have made a difference, still have been, I would like to think, as people have told me, a great mentor to others, and still feel fulfilled. So those are the types of things I would like people to get from not only my work, but myself as a person and as an advocate.
And let's talk about, you are a Black movement attorney. So what was that like, being, because I know a lot of things happened in 2020, and I know you were probably on the front lines with a lot of things having to represent different things that were happening. So as a Black, movement attorney, tell us more about that.
Okay, yeah. So actually, what day is that? I just testified earlier this week before Congress on an issue that I have been working on ever since the mid-'70s, and that was the issue of COINTELPRO. COINTELPRO was the code name for the FBI's secret illegal program to disrupt and destroy the Black movement. The FBI program that surveilled and spied on Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and the Black Panther Party and many, many others. Well, here we are now, because of Judas and the Black Messiah, the Oscar-winning, award-winning movie, Congress is really beginning to take a look at that issue. And I'm one of the people who testified on that issue because even before I was a lawyer, I'm in college now. I was head of an organization called the National Committee to Free the RNA 11, which was a group of Black nationalists who were unjustly imprisoned in Jackson, Mississippi. And I had the opportunity while working on that case, even before I was a lawyer, to go through thousands of pages of FBI documents, many of the pages redacted, meaning blacked out, or key provisions that really showed the type of dirty tricks, anonymous letters, forged documents that the FBI used to try to frame people. There are many people still in prison today as a result of that COINTELPRO error. I'm involved in the legal defense of a number of them today, as I was in the past during the 70s, even before I was a lawyer. So basically, being a Black movement attorney, takes on those type of cases that nobody else wants to touch. They're the more controversial, ones. And, the ones that, are kind of like swept under the rug. And even though during the anti-apartheid movement, everybody knew the name of Nelson Mandela. I mean, you just knew the name of Nelson Mandela, and you just knew that you had to lift up that name and struggle to free him, even though it was, way across the borders. But folks don't know the name of Sundiata Acoli or Dr. Mutulu Shakur or Imam Jamil Al-Amin, who is the new name of H. Rap Brown, or Mumia Abu Jamal, or Baranza Bowers. And, they don't know these names, even though these are folks right here in this country who were struggling for the freedom of Black people, and who many of whom were targeted and surveilled by the Federal Bureau of Investigation under the COINTELPRO, all of who are, they old, they elderly. They were incarcerated during the 70s, 60s, 70s, and early 80s. We're talking about elders, posed no threat to any part of society, but because they were struggling for freedom, shall we say, just as Nelson Mandela was, they are consistently denied parole time after time. So being a Black movement attorney is part of that struggle, and that's what I've been about.
I love it. I hope our audience is taking notes, because Nikisi is so powerful and so inspirational. So I hope you all are taking notes, and she's doing some amazing work. I mean, some amazing, profound, history-making work. And so I asked all of my guests this question, Nikisi, and I know you've already kind of answered it earlier. You have built multiple tables for many, many others, and you've built tables for yourself. How did you create your seat at the table?
Well, I would say it wasn't just one table. It was a multitude of tables representing different parts of my life. And how did I do it? I mean, I guess it's that sense of responsibility, and that sense of passion, and that sense of, well, if nobody else is going to do it, I'm going to step up to the plate and make sure that it gets done. So I think that is what the type of things that propelled me to make those seats at the table. I don't just make that seat at the table for myself. I try to open up those tables so that others can have those seats as well. Like I said, when I first started working on criminal justice reform, not only were there not melanated people at the table, there were formerly incarcerated people were not at the table. Well, that has greatly changed over the years, and I like to say I had a little part to do with that, to highlight and bring to the fore people like Kimba Smith, who was on the cover of Emerge magazine back when Emerge was there, who as a 24-year-old was arrested and incarcerated for 24 years because she was a girlfriend of a drug dealer, okay? Had her baby in prison, was, handcuffed to the hospital bed right after giving birth to her child. I advocated in support of Kimba, and when she received clemency at the end of the Clinton administration, we made sure that she had a seat at the table, make sure that she told her story to Congress, make sure that she was the means to be able to share. The same with an organization out there now called the National Council for Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls, led by Sister Andrea James, made sure that she had access to the Obama White House. Make sure that she was able to do everything that she wanted to do in terms of uplifting the stories of women and girls who have been incarcerated. So again, I try to open up that table to directly impacted people, as well.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So powerful. So powerful. So, Nikisi, a lot of people see the accolades, but they do not see the process. And the process is so, so important on our journey. So, what did failure teach you on your journey?
Yeah, so you're right, Dr. Ashley. A lot of people know the story. A lot of people know the glory. They see the glory, but they don't know the story.
That's right.
They don't know the story behind that. They don't know that, for years I was struggling to free a brother named William Underwood from prison. And I write about that in my memoir, the chapter called Underwood Should Be Home by Now. And I am just so thrilled to be able to announce to your audience that on January 15th of this year, Martin Luther King's birthday, a judge finally agreed with the arguments that I was making and freed William Underwood after 33 years of prison. A 67-year-old elder freed him back into the loving arms of his family and his community, someone who was serving a life without parole sentence. So people see the glory, but they don't know, just the nights that I would, sit up trying to figure out the best arguments to make this happen, to try to support the family as much as possible. And even his daughter ended up forming an organization called We Got Us Now, dealing with children of incarcerated parents. And she's just gone a million miles with this. So just to see him at home with his family and see all of the great things that lie ahead for him, it just gives me great solace. So there's a story behind the glory. The story isn't always, pretty and sweet, but when it manifests into the glory, hey, I mean, what can I say? It's all worth it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And so what did success teach you? Because you're very, very successful.
What does success teach me? Well, I mean, we're still waiting for some more successes now. It ain't been all there yet. I will say this, it's a bit disconcerting to me that we have spiraled from the pillar of the slogan during my coming of age years, the slogan of Black Power, to today just having to want to get this man's knee off our neck, just to be able to breathe, just to be able to assert that our lives matter. So I would like it so that we can get back to the audacious and bold Black Power, that we can go much further than just having to be able to breathe, just having to have acknowledged that our lives matter. I want to be a part of bringing back that Black Power.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And you're doing some amazing things, and just kudos to you, Nikisi. Kudos to you. So we are in the second quarter, right, of 2021. So what can we expect from you, this quarter, the rest of 2021? What can we expect from the amazing Nikisi?
Well, one thing I will say, we all was quite enthusiastic with the election that just occurred, but we really must keep our elected leaders' feet to the fire. We must hold people accountable. We must not go for the okie doke of just what is the minimal amount that we can do for progress. We need to be bold. This is the time we need to be bold. We need to be audacious. We need to really make things happen now. We don't know how much time we're going to have after this administration to be able to get some things accomplished. Yeah, we need to pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, but we need to recognize that that is the floor. That is not the ceiling. We need to really look closely at what Movement for Black Lives is talking about when they talk about the BREATHE Act, which is an aspirational, bold and audacious and creative way of looking at issues of public safety and justice system transformation. We need to not be afraid of different terms we hear out there. Okay, we need to explain them. We need to don't get scared when folks say, defund the police. We need to deconstruct what all of that means. We've come a long way, but we got a long way to go. So what I want to do during the rest of 2021 and thereafter to make sure that these issues that might seem scary on the surface become more mainstream, like reparations, which was scary back in the day and is quite mainstream today. Like criminal justice transformation, not just reform. We've moved past reform. We need to deal with restructuring and transforming the whole system. So those are some of the things I would like to be able to highlight. And also for people not to forget our freedom fighters who are languishing in prison from that COINTELPRO era, and they need to be free to come home with their families. So those are my things for the short haul.
Yes, so make sure you all connect with Nikisi. Congratulations on everything that you're doing. Also, congratulations on the things that you're about to do in advance. And also, tell them one more time, Nikisi, how they can go support your book and book you.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Ashley. They can go to my website, www.blackpowerbblacklawyer.com. There's a lot of information about me and the book in there, reviews and the like. And there's also links for where you can purchase the book. And Dr. Ashley, I really, really appreciate you making your platform available for people like myself, people who they've never heard of before. And so I really appreciate that as well.
Absolutely, and I'm humbled to have you at the table. That's what it's about, for the people to be highlighted internationally and nationally that are really breaking glass ceilings and creating their tables and building their own tables such as yourself. And so the world does know who you are, and they're going to continue to know who you are. So I just love everything that you're doing. You're such an inspiration. This has been a powerful, interview, and I can't wait to invite you back to the table.
It will be my pleasure, my sister.
You are welcome, and please tell them how they can follow you on all social media platforms.
Yes, well, they can follow me on Facebook under my name, Nikisi Taifa. They can follow me on Twitter, Nikisi_Taifa. And I'm on Instagram under my name also, Nikisi Taifa, but also Black Power, Black Lawyer. And I'm on LinkedIn under my name as well. So my name is not... if you just plug in that name, I know you can't spell it, but you start typing it in, I'm the only one usually that comes up. NKECHI-TAIFA. I'm all over the place.
Awesome. So definitely make sure you follow and support Nikisi. She's definitely somebody to know and be connected with. So definitely make sure you all follow and support her. Again, Nikisi, I cannot wait to continue to collaborate with you and continue to work with you.
I'm looking forward to it, Dr. Ashley. Love you so much.
Love you too. Thank you again. So I would like to give a special thanks to my intern, Sarah, who is a Tennessee State University alumni. And I would also like to give a special thanks to my intern, Vontaria, who is a student at Winston-Salem State University. You all may follow me on Facebook at Dr. Ashley Little and on Instagram at _Ashley A. Little. Thank you.
Peace and blessings.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Creating Your Seat at the Table, where Ashley speaks with corporate professionals, celebrities, entrepreneurs, authors, and speakers who are transitioning or have transitioned to entrepreneurship.